Willis of Glory Consulting. And her fun fact is that she is also an artiste and had her artwork on display in New Orleans in Jefferson Square.
Oh, Jackson Square.
Jackson Square. Started with a J. There was a sun.
It's
Okay.
also on display here at Loveland Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, nice. There you go. So you can come see her work.
You might know how awkward I am. So, good morning, everyone. Gloria Willis from Gloria Willis Consulting. I'm relaunching my business after living in New Orleans 2008 and now 2022, relaunching my business, consulting business. My goal in the business is to make a difference in the world of work, and I've had that goal for a long time. I want to support leaders in making, creating really healthy organizations and supporting them in the changes that they have to make, as well as employees finding a home, someplace where they can work, grow, and develop, and thrive. So my ask today, let's see, how do we go down here?
Might be a slight delay.
What?
A slight delay, so you might need to go back.
I'm pushing the one you told me to.
Yeah, there's a delay. A lag.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, while we're waiting for it to come up, I would say that my ask, there's two basic areas for my ask. One is, where can I find these companies who would be interested in this at this point in time? And the second one is, what is the best entry point? Should it be a specific product, or should it be an overall organizational approach? The problem that I'm addressing is that employees are largely, like 75%, disengaged in the workforce right now. It's a huge problem. And we have to find better ways. And especially since COVID-19, it's gotten worse with the remote and everything. We have to find a better way of attracting people, retaining them, bringing them on board, and really supporting them in the process. This is a $350 billion business problem, excuse me. That's the expense, that's the tag, the price tag of this particular problem. And I think it's probably getting worse. And there's some examples there of what it costs for specific groups of people to replace them. The solution, I believe, is leadership. In any change process in organizations, we have to start at the top. What's the mindset? We set the mindset to be, our employees are our most important resource. How can we support them in being successful in our company? So I'm going to work with them on clarity of their communication, engagement, how to engage. Many of them do not know how to talk to people, accountability, how to make people accountable so that we're really moving forward. And those would be the main ones. That would probably be really good. The offerings that I have are to do a comprehensive assessment at the beginning, giving them information that they probably couldn't receive on their own, identifying what's working, what's not working, and an action plan that's going to show them how to move forward. An onboarding plan, a communication plan, a real system of communication within an organization, team building workshops, and really being open to what shows up on these assessments, because there might be some other things. And it's totally the measurable results that you can expect from getting employees involved and engaging with them is that production is going to improve, definitely. And we're looking for trust, more trust in the organization, and that will improve as far as when people are more engaged in the process. One thing is that I do well, I think, is matching the job to the task. Sometimes we put the wrong people in the wrong job, and it costs us a lot of money. Offering them, you can see a communication plan and increase production and reduce turnover. So these are all things you can actually measure after starting a program such as this. How do I help? I set up systems and structures within companies. I help bridge the gap between employees and employers, helping them understand each other and therefore being able to work more productively together. I help set up team building workshops. I help identify leadership strengths and areas where they need to improve and help them improve in their leadership skills and especially in their communication. These are some examples of things I have done in the sales area, helping somebody recover $100,000 of personal income to being a regional leader in this area. But I don't have time for all this. So why me? Well, I'm definitely committed to improving and creating healthy organizations. And and companies that are in transition, companies that are merging, and helping them manage their change processes so that they can have better results and reduce the numbers of disengaged people as well as the retention issue. I have a master's degree in organizational development and HR and over 30 years of experience working with small, medium, and global companies. These are some testimonials. I know you can't really read them. I don't know. But really they attest to my being a strong leadership coach, a sales person, and also being able to establish an organizational awareness within an organization, which brings people together. And I think alignment is one of the key things that I can do for companies. My action plan is to target small, medium-sized companies with 5 million or more employees, revenue, excuse me. And I'm looking for 20 companies right now that I can interview. Okay, that's 6 minutes. Okay, and yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'll just take a second here to close out this last part. I'm looking for healthcare companies mostly. Again, my ask is what companies, where can I find them, and what would be the main entry point? And this is my contact information. If you would give me your email address, hello@gloriawillis.com, consulting.com, I would send you a copy of my digital book, Explode Production with Sound Business Practices. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to your comments.
Great job, Gloria. All right, do you want to put back your ask slide? Who would like to get us kicked off? Beth.
So great job. The thing that I would do, because I was in your role for so many years in big companies,
I can't hear you.
I would, you did a great job in the presentation. Thank you. The thing that I would suggest that you look at as you're looking at talking to these business people, because you're looking at the business owner or, the management, senior management team, is go in with a business case in your presentation to how you add value, because they're going to be looking at metrics and things that you can do or have done to help them not just reduce turnover, but I think turnover is the result of people not being happy and wrong jobs, all that kind of stuff. And so I think if you can help them understand how the work on the front end of the people being that are aligned in their job, the communications piece is really key. But I think if you can help put together, if you can put together a business case for them to talk about how you can help them improve their business, and the organizations you might consider looking at are the ones that have higher turnover numbers, because they're going to be really interested in making that kind of a change. And I know you're probably familiar with SHRM, or Society for Human Resource Management. I've not been a member for a lot of years, but they probably have some information out there that's somewhat available around turnover in industries. And I think I heard you say healthcare was one you're interested in. That's a huge problem today because of COVID, the turnover in that area. And I think that if you could maybe look at local stuff that talks to turnover within the healthcare space, that would be really powerful. And I know that there are individuals, I think at the chamber, let's say Combine Health, they're more senior, I think, than they are healthcare. But there's some folks there that I think I could probably get you connected if that's what you're interested in.
Thank you.
It's a lot of stuff, sorry.
Dane.
Excuse me. Great presentation. Even though you're nervous, we can tell that you know what you're doing. And so your experience shined through that. So thanks for presenting today. If you could only do one of these things, which would you do? Lead organizational development projects or coach executives?
Lead organizational development projects.
Okay. At this point, since you're restarting your business and you're one person, I would pick one thing to talk about on your website, one thing to advertise that you're doing. Because if someone goes in, and this happened to me, they see all these things you're offering to do. It's like going to the Cheesecake Factory. They can't be doing all this well. And so pick one thing
Sure.
as your niche and just talk about that only for a year, as that's the service you're offering. And you might be asked to do more than that, and you get to choose yes or no. And then if you're also wanting to stay an individual consultant, find other groups, other consulting groups where maybe you can be a contractor for them.
Yes.
It'll be hard for you to get the same clients as an individual to lead an organizational design project for USB or Amazon. They're going to the bigger consulting groups, but you could be a partner in that with another consultant group. So in your networking, you said that's what you're working on this year. Networking more with other organizational development consultant groups might be a great place to find some work.
Okay, thank you.
Carl?
Yeah, so good talking with you again, Gloria. Yeah, I got some sort of mixed impressions. The language, especially what you started off with, was targeted more at the way very large companies think, mega corporations and stuff like that. And then later on, you said small to medium business, but then you said $5 million plus. And so the target size of the company seems to be sliding around a little bit. It might help if you had this, say, targeted towards a particular size or nature. So for instance, if I was to do a proposal to a healthcare organization, I might pull lots of examples from that, change the language a little bit. And of course, one of the other questions I have is about like nonprofits and stuff like that, whether that's something that you can help with, because they have many of the same problems of attracting and retaining the right people. I do think that focusing on retention right now is a real door opener. So I think that is a very good choice at the moment. In a few years, that might shift to something else, but for the moment, there's a lot of attention and discussion around that. So, I really want to see some of those testimonials on your website. Right now, I wasn't able to find them, but you said you're working on it, so that's not a problem. But I think that will really make this thing pop as people investigate what you do.
All right, Jana.
Yeah. Hi, Gloria. Couple quick things for you. One, I would suggest you look at Candace Elgin's Propel Growth LinkedIn lead generation workshop. She's a regular at 1 Million Cups. Somebody there can make sure you get connected with her, but that's a good place to start. The other thing I would suggest to you is that you go to the library and talk with Matt West, our local business librarian, and get a list of the healthcare companies in Northern Colorado that fit the size you're looking for. Because what I'll tell you from my personal experience, you and I have very similar backgrounds and do very, very similar things. And I worked at the Trebuchet Group for 5 years doing exactly this stuff. And the lead generation time from beginning the relationship to the close of business was typically between 9 and 18 months. So you have to move a lot faster with that. You're going to find you can move faster with smaller companies, but you set a $5 million revenue. which in all honesty starts putting you in rarefied air in northern Colorado. There are very specific large groups that will meet that, but we don't have a whole lot of those mid-tier businesses here, particularly in the healthcare space. So you're looking at the Eye Center of Northern Colorado or the Spine Surgery Center. You're not looking at our two major healthcare providers or our major retirement community provider. So you really do have to take the time to find that right target list and really start to work that list very hard, very quickly, because people in Northern Colorado don't make decisions quickly around this stuff, in my experience.
Jana, so good to have you back. All right, I think that wraps us up for time. So thank you very much, Gloria, for presenting today. Grab your second cup of coffee. We'll get Ian set up and I'll holler at you when it's time to come back.
You're on, you're.
Michael.
Matthew kind of here, right? All right, we've got Ian Nelson of Thrivent Financial. He's gonna tell us that we don't need a financial advisor. And his fun fact is that he's got lots of fun facts. But let's see here, he's a soccer referee, which keeps him in fantastic shape, but he's actually DJ Dad Bod.
Oh my. Thank you for the warm introduction. All right. Hi, I'm Ian Nelson, and I do work for Thrivent Financial, and I am Dad Bod. I haven't presented in a while, so you'll have to forgive the nerves, but I appreciate y'all being here. I'm here to talk about why you don't need a financial advisor. As a financial advisor, I hear all the time, I don't need one. So I might as well just stomp things out right now. So I do many things. I have many businesses, but this is the one I'm working on right now currently. And it is hopefully my hybrid retirement for throughout life. So let's see if we can get this thing to work. I ask just presentation feedback. I don't do a lot of presentations, so I want to make sure I'm telling a compelling story, an impactful story, and I have good cadence and flow. So hopefully I'm speaking clearly and slowly, you guys can all understand me. Pretty simple, but I'll take all the feedback I can get. That's my mom. So first point is, I was born May 1980. My father was on a date. Yep. Unfortunate. My mother was unlucky in love. She later then married somebody else who cheated on her often. And when she left him, we had to move away. So we moved Colorado. Car broke down. No emergency funds to pay for the car. Had to borrow money. So that, I guess, clearly states if you have all the emergency cash you could ever want to need, you probably don't need a financial advisor, right? Pretty simple. My mother's high school. So going to school, it's never fun. I was living on thrift store clothes. There we go. Kmart clothes, you know, the cheap stuff. Didn't have the Nike pumps, didn't have the cool gear, didn't have all that stuff. And then come to college, I had to borrow the money for college, which I later quit anyways. So that was a huge waste of money. But if you can save all the money you need for your child's education, you don't need a financial advisor. So, lived in Colorado. My mom got a job in Vail of all places. So I went from being a beach bum to a ski bum. It's great for me. But on the way going up to Vail to look for a place, it was a snowy, icy day. And Vail Pass had closed many times. And unfortunately, we got hit by a semi-truck and it broke my mother's back. So yet again, here she is, partially disabled, unable to work. We don't have any money. And back to loans we go. So if you have all the life and disability and long-term care insurance you need, you don't need a financial advisor. At 19, my mother gave me my first book on investments, The Courage to Be Rich by Suze Orman. It changed my whole thought pattern of how money interacts and how it flows. I always thought it was the devil. God, it was horrible. At 19, I decided by 50, I would retire. I retired last year, I'm 42. I'm back to work, but doing this as a servitude. I want to help others achieve what they want in life, okay? So if you can invest as much money as you want for retirement, you don't need someone like me. You don't need an advisor. Unluckily, my mother passed away about 5 years ago. She had her aorta burst. She never got to retire. Even if she could have retired, she had about $1,000 to her name at like 55 years old. So, can you draw as much money as you want for retirement? Can you keep your lifestyle the way it is or enhance it to something better when you retire? If you can, you probably don't need a financial advisor. So all of these things, these life lessons have brought me to this point today where I actually care. I truly care about the person in front of me. I want to help them be the person that my mother never could be. I learned lessons the hard way through watching her and never wanting that for myself, for my children. Because of that, we can create legacies. That's my oldest daughter. These are old pictures. So the youngest daughter, Kira, that's Elena. I'm there somewhere. But yeah, you want to pass on generational wealth. If you want to be the one in your family that makes the change for your families, for your future families that you'll never see, and leave those legacies that impact generation after generation, you don't need a financial advisor if you can do it already. But if you can't and you have questions, I'd love to help. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. I'm Ian Nelson with Thrivent Financial.
5:16, nice work.
Fast.
All right, Allison wants to kick us off.
Great storytelling. Dane's son was over there watching you. And so you didn't only it wasn't just the story you were telling, but like you could feel like your connection to the story. Like you weren't just talking about these things, but like your energy was so compelling that like you drew a child into literally watching you for most of the presentation. So that was one of the things that you were wondering about. You started off a little bit quiet and reserved. So I would say just project a little bit more, because in a room like this where there's noise and you know, the sound doesn't always carry as far. Just project a little bit more, but your energy and the storytelling was really compelling.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks for sharing your story.
Peter,
I'm just glad I wasn't sitting across the table from you while you told this story, because I had signed up right then and there. Because here, like she said, this is a bigger room, a little bit of distraction, but you told a very compelling story and linked it all together, right? So in the beginning was this question, okay, I'm not going to sell you on it, you have to sell yourself. And I think if you change your slides around, so you basically had in there, you don't need one if, you did that every time, you just kind of reiterate, you don't need one if, and then we're going to just be mad at ourselves because yes, I do need one. I can't do that yet. I can't do that yet. I can't do that. So if you could help us reiterate that in our mind that I need one because is really what you're saying.
Okay, thank you.
I would say the same thing as I was like, oh, there needed to be a big if slide to start it off.
Yeah.
The other piece that I would say is always start with your credibility. So we didn't get your credibility until the Susie Orman book, but starting with like, you didn't finish college ever?
No.
I didn't finish college ever, and I retired at the age of 41. I'm doing this as service, not as a moneymaker.
Right.
I think that that's a huge trust builder because people don't trust financial advisors. That's the biggest hurdle is they don't trust financial advisors.
Right.
So I think establishing your credibility from the start is going to be really important. And then that I don't need to do this, and you don't need one if. So I like that part. Somebody else had their hand up. Eric.
Yeah, I would second what Leandra was saying too, in the sense of, until she actually just kind of reiterated that, I still didn't trust you, just because I don't trust you. But when you say that, it's like, oh, all right, that becomes more interesting. And it, just on the presentation, I think sometimes people can be really confident. Obviously, you were letting us know that you were feeling a little not confident. And I think that's all right too, because I think vulnerability can be really great too. So just, being comfortable in your skin, even if you're feeling petrified is, I think you did that really well. And then this one is just sort of thinking out loud. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but the storyline didn't still quite fit for me. Like it took me a while to get the whole shtick of, oh, you don't need a financial advisor. But the story with your mother is so powerful that I would almost start with that and say something. I mean, maybe you could still title it the same and lead with, not everybody needs a financial advisor. My mom didn't need one. And then you drag us down this story where we're attached to that. And you really, really personalize it around that. Because that's like everyone said, I mean, it was a great story.
Yeah. So basically like tell us what you're going to tell us, then tell us what you told us.
Yeah.
So you needed to let us know where we were going
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
from the very beginning.
Yeah, and what he, sorry, can I just- what he said about my mom didn't need one.
There
Right.
you go.
Boom.
That's your catch line.
Drop the
Right
mic.
there.
Boom.
All right, we got Carl online, and I think Jana, is your hand up? I can't-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. So a couple of things come to mind. I did like the story flow, and I think it told us a lot about who you are and your character and your motivation. So I really appreciate that approach. There was one slide where you had a few of the proof points down below in smaller letters. And honestly, I think I would leave those off for this style of presentation. This kind of presentation, I think, works really great when you have one big picture and a few words next to it, and the rest of it comes out of you verbally. There's another time for having proof points and statistics and stuff like that. But I don't think it works that well in this style of presenting. The other thing that I'll point out is that this slide has a very large white background. Most of the slides had a primary black background, and switching between the white and the black was a little bit jarring, especially if you're online, and that's primarily what you see is the slide. There's not the rest of what's going on in the room that you're watching. So, you can make it a little bit more consistent that way, but I really enjoyed the approach that you took with this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. All right, Jana?
And where are you planning on using this presentation?
Here. This is just a catalyst to get me up and talking in front of other people, and
Totally get it. Okay, couple thoughts I want to have to expand this to where it might be useful for something other than us.
Okay.
You have hit the primary objective as to why people don't want a financial advisor, right? Like there's some of all of that, which is great. And you can shorten it up and tighten it. But the second piece underneath it is always the underlying fear. I don't have enough money for a financial advisor to manage, and I'm embarrassed because I don't want somebody else knowing I don't have enough money for this. So in that, moving from the here's this horrible possible thing that could happen to you into this is how we grow money, starting from very little tiny amounts when you don't actually have any. Because I think that provides you that holistic piece in terms of I am now able to understand where you're coming from. Of everybody probably needs a financial advisor in some capacity because we're all kind of stupid about money when it's ours. And then how do we move into I need to be comfortable enough to allow you into the most personal thing in my life. You've made me deeply uncomfortable over here with the story about your mom. And now I need to feel comfortable letting you into my life to help me fix it.
fantastic.
Dane.
Great presentation. I love the core of it and the way you reiterating everything everyone else has already said. So the one piece of feedback I'd have on your presentation is how you start is important.
Okay.
And it would be better to be quiet and nervous than to tell us you're nervous. And it would be better to be up there clicking on things to fix the technology than to draw our attention to something that's not working. So even as soon as you're up there, we're drawn to you,
right?
Even if you're not saying a word. So next time you give presentations, if something's not going the way you hoped it would, just be quiet, and you've already got the audience's attention.
It's a good thing.
And the thing I'll just say about the vulnerability piece that these guys mentioned, that's gonna help people trust you more. The fact that you don't have a slick presentation will help say, oh, he's more like me. I could relate to him. And then you go into your presentation. So it actually all works to your advantage.
Yeah, so you're getting conflicting advice
Yeah,
from
it
these
is.
two. But I think
They're both valid.
actually in this case, I'm gonna go with Eric and Beth and say the vulnerability is better for the humanity piece because you're not speaking to executives who expect you to have everything polished. Like the less polished you have it, probably the better because you haven't done this a million times and you're not just working me over.
Exactly.
Well, not to shut Dane down so hard. I think he's on point if you can pull that off, but I think the reality is we can all see you're not the one that's gonna pull that off. You were feeling it, and that's all right. And so I think if you just 100, you either can pull it off, good luck, or just own it. And I would still say keep owning it. And then one other thing too, just to expand on what Jenna was saying about our vulnerability or our fear of that. I think you could actually not directly say that and still tie that into the story. So why did your mom not do this? You didn't actually really talk about that. You just said she didn't need it, but you could actually add that little piece that would solve that puzzle to say she was afraid she didn't have any money. She didn't feel that it was useful for what reason? Because now you're relating to us that the reasoning why she didn't.
You're spot on. Thank you.
Jenny.
I was just gonna agree with Dane.
And she's teaching this.
I know.
But she teaches
But
lectures.
I'm gonna agree, the vulnerability is already in the story and in the photos that you're sharing. So I think that we have access to that, but to start off, as Dane was saying at the very beginning with those kind of like disclosures of how you're feeling in the moment, that's the stuff that like, we don't need to see that. Because you're gonna tell us this incredible story, right? And that's the piece that we need to connect with, not the like, oh, presenting is uncomfortable.
Right.
Like, you know, not that you need to be slick about it, but you just go like, I'm gonna do this. Okay, just move forward for that part. The other thing, I know this presentation is just for us, but I have to tell you, I totally, your story was great. Everything was great. the 100% of people will die on the slide, I was cracking up. It took me 3 hours.
I saw that. I did see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything about it,
I'm
but I
like,
did see the 100% of people dying.
I love that, but it didn't fit with the story, and it doesn't fit here.
No, you're right. That was.
It's a different presentation.
People definitely come to that.
Yeah.
Over a beer, maybe that's a good place for this.
Well, my dad does wills and trusts, so that's like definitely in all his conversations, it's like, you are going to die, your family's gonna, everyone is.
Everybody's
gonna
gonna
die. So
die.
I'm used to that, but it doesn't fit here with
Right.
the story, yeah.
That would have been the slide Carl was talking about.
Yes, I think that was. And then I do think like, separate from a presentation, if you're talking to somebody about this stuff, you can still use this story. Yeah, and all you're gonna do as you keep telling the story is practice sort of like the punchline of, my mom didn't need a financial advisor, right? And so as you're telling the story, you just punctuate it with that little like, and you'll figure out how to say it, right? But you can do that in 2 or 3 minutes, right?
I mean, so in speaking engagements, the first part, a lot of times, what I've learned is to start with your story and why you're passionate about what you do. And so this would be like your hero's journey story. This might not even be the whole thing. This could just be the 5-minute intro that gets into the meat of whatever the presentation is. So I don't think that this is the first and last place to use these slides.
But I think you can build on that too, because I assume you did something different than your mom did in order to retire at 41, right? So you basically tell this is what my mom did without a financial advisor, and this is what I did with financial advice, if you will, however you did it.
And you're not wrong. I did forget some spots. I started investing at a young age.
Right.
Learning how to trade.
With a little tiny bit, like he was saying before, a little bit of money to get you started.
So the 6 myths of millionaires are that you were given an inheritance, that you have a really high paying job, that you make risky investments. These are the 6 myths. You can Google it.
Yeah.
So you need to address those, because that's what most people, like if you say, oh, I retired at 41, most people are going to assume that. And this is a nice lead into, you can do it no matter your upbringing.
Yeah,
No
everybody
matter
thinks
what
trust
you
fund.
So, anybody else?
Thank you, guys.
Now you can breathe.
Great job.
Okay, so who has a win? Who has a resource? Who has,
You look skeptical.
Yeah, that's
I can't remember my third thing, so just. let's go.
So I have a win. In keeping with tradition, we have a new
Another-
grandson.
How many total?
12.
Wow. In how many years?
Well, they range all the way from 26 to this one was born on June 25th.
Wow. Well, then you're gonna be on great grandchildren here pretty soon at
Yeah.
26.
Yeah.
All right, the other one was who needs help?
Win resources.
Win resources help. So who has a win? Win resource.
So I guess this is sort of resource / help. I'll be opening up the speaker and sponsor application for the Soulful Entrepreneur Summit, which happens in January. So the audience is small business owners. It's a virtual live event. And if you are interested in speaking to that audience and want to learn more, come and see me, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the application process.
Denny, hello.
Resource / an event from Rockies Venture Club, which is Colorado's largest angel investment group. They're having one of the 2 large semi-annual event. It's called the Colorado Capital Conference. So Beth and Peter, if that's not on your main calendar, I can provide you information on it. It's August 23rd and 24th in Denver. We usually have about 12 to 15 companies pitching to angel investors for funding. And most of those are Colorado companies. And we have several Fort Collins startups funded by RBC in the past, and they're doing really well. So if you're interested in attending, it does cost you some money, but kind of the backdoor way to get in for free is to volunteer for the event. So you can be the mic runner or the AV sound person, greeter, registration table, those kind of things. And if you're interested in attending and hear what people are saying and how they're pitching for free by volunteering, let me know and I can put your name to the right people so that you can volunteer and attend for free. If you want to pay for it, and I can also send you the link to register to attend without checking people in or running around with a mic. So
That was the slickest way I've ever heard anyone ask for volunteers.
That's true. That's true. Look, I'm doing you a favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice, Jenny.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
Peter and I can be good volunteers.
James, I saw you turn on your camera.
It's on. I didn't raise my hand though. I was thinking
It's
about
true.
it.
It's true. You turned on your screen before Carl raised his hand, so it was like the same.
Go ahead, Carl, man.
Yeah, I don't know how many people heard about the trout tank event that was a couple of weeks ago. It was sort of like a Shark Tank thing, except for nonprofits in the area. It was the first one that had ever been put on by Lyric. And it actually went pretty well. It wasn't a huge attendance because they needed to do more publicity. But that's something that we should keep our eye out for. She was saying that they would like to do those every 6 months or something like that. She was a little bit unsure about it, but it was basically 6 different nonprofit groups gave their pitches, and I was on the judging panel, and so I had a chance to give away a prize to one of the organizations, and a very cool kind of thing, and it's something that we ought to support and pay more attention to, because you know, there is just amazing nonprofit stuff going on in the community here. I'll let you know when I hear about if they schedule their next one.
Please
But
do.
it would probably be like January or something.
Yeah, it'll be on Maine too.
Yeah.
So we have a win. We actually 2 wins last week. We had a great meeting with the city about Maine and what we're doing, and they're really interested. And we're trying to get them to work with the county so we can get some, consistency in terms of how to work with what we call the pillars in the community. And the second one is we announced this or went live with mymaine.com with the SBDC consultants on Friday. We introduced them to it and got a couple folks setting up accounts. So it's actually live out there. Peter's continuing to update it, so you have to kind of refresh, but it's getting better and better. And it's really because of the feedback you guys have shared with us about what we could do. Little things make a big difference at this point. So
Free.
it's free for now. We don't have to do beer. Don't have beer.
You could just put a checkbox.
Yeah. It should be a filter item. All right, James is ready now.
So I can't really release names or anything, but a major university is going to be working with us at Smart Move to review most of our financial education. So help us kind of make sure that that's tightened and fully vetted. So the person that we're working with is an economics professor who actually worked out in Chicago as a Fed So that's pretty awesome. And we'll be doing a research paper on the methodology behind Smart Move about how the habits are changing. And so we'll have a white paper released probably sometime 2023, but we're excited to be throwing that data together and really working with this university to really truly prove that our tech is awesome.
Cool. Thanks. I have a little win that doesn't quite match that, but we went camping this past weekend, which is where all of my great ideas come for the year, which
You should do that
I
more
think,
often.
well, and I should start a business around that is what I'm thinking, like just take
Folks,
people
stay
up for
focused,
marketing.
stay
I know,
focused.
that's been part of it. But I'll announce it, I think, when I come back. I won't be here next week, so Dane's hosting next week.
Yeah, because Jenny's going to Iceland.
Because Jenny's going on
And
vacation again. But when I come back, I'll announce it because I had a really great idea for marketing and y'all might actually be interested in doing it.
So you're on the presentation schedule?
I am, but not till the end of August.
All right, there's more slots in August and we're booking September now. So get on the schedule.
When in August is available?
I don't know.
I already know.
And Natalie is not on.
No.
I just
Um,
emailed.
yeah.
Asked that question.
So if you want to present, reach out to Natalie. If not, have a great week and Dane will be leading you next week. Same place, same time.